Why is it that the longer some men are single, the more composed, unshakable, and grounded they seem to become? It's a paradox that quietly haunts modern life. In a culture where love is portrayed as the ultimate validation of one's worth, the single man, especially the one who remains single for years, is often viewed with suspicion or pity. He's assumed to be lonely, emotionally stunted, unlucky in love, or worse, unlovable. But is that really the full story? What if, hidden beneath the surface of solitude, lies a kind of transformation, one that modern culture has forgotten, but the ancient Stoics deeply understood? This video isn't an argument against love or relationships. It's not a celebration of avoidance or emotional isolation. Rather, it's an exploration of the Stoic spirit, a state of being forged not in the noise of constant connection, but in the silence of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." In this retreat, sometimes forced, sometimes chosen, many men discover something unexpected. Not despair, but clarity. Not weakness, but strength. A strength not built on bravado, but on the quiet, enduring power of knowing oneself. Let's explore why the longer a man is single, not lonely, but purposefully alone, the more he seems to embody something timeless, sovereign, and in many ways untouchable. To understand this phenomenon, we first need to grasp what the Stoics believed about strength. The Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, did not equate strength with status, wealth, or social success. To them, strength was virtue in action. It was the ability to remain composed under pressure, to resist unnecessary desires, and to live in accordance with nature and reason. Central to Stoicism is the idea of self-mastery. The Stoic does not seek to control others, but to control himself, and nowhere is this principle tested more than in solitude. He who is brave is free. Seneca. When a man chooses to be single, not from bitterness, but from a desire to grow, he places himself in a crucible, no partner to please, no one to distract him from his inner chaos, no external mirror to validate his worth. It's just him, his thoughts, his habits, his fears. This is where the work begins. In solitude, the Stoic trains like a warrior of the soul. He observes his emotions without indulging them. He practices temperance in a world that encourages excess. He embraces discomfort as a path to clarity. Where others may fill the void with constant companionship, the Stoic man leans into that void until it becomes a sanctuary. Modern psychology, perhaps unknowingly, echoes many Stoic truths. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, separate from the expectations of others. And Abraham Maslow placed self-actualization at the peak of his hierarchy of needs, describing it as the fulfillment of one's potential, often occurring through introspection and solitude. Studies show that people who intentionally spend time alone tend to be more creative, self-reflective, and emotionally grounded. They are not socially anxious or withdrawn. Instead, they have chosen a kind of detachment, not from people, but from the need to be constantly seen. There is a profound difference between isolation and solitude. Isolation is imposed, solitude is embraced. In solitude, the man does not retreat out of fear, but out of a desire to connect with the deepest parts of himself. He becomes his own observer, his own confidant, his own compass. And over time, something shifts. The anxious grasping for approval begins to fade. The need to perform, to be charming, desirable, or needed, falls away. In its place arises a quiet confidence, a kind of unspoken strength that says, "I have faced myself, and I did not look away." Time alone is not neutral. It shapes us, either towards wisdom or towards ruin. The difference lies in how we approach it. For the man walking the Stoic path, Long-term singleness becomes a forge for rare qualities. Emotional regulation. Without a partner to emotionally offload onto, he must learn to self-soothe. Anger, anxiety, longing. He meets these alone, and over time, they lose their grip. Clarity of purpose. With fewer distractions, his attention sharpens. He builds systems, routines, and values that are aligned not with someone else's dreams, but with his own. Freedom from compromise. He's not negotiating how he spends his time or energy. He is fully accountable to himself, and that autonomy becomes intoxicating. Awareness of time. He's not caught in the day-to-day drama of a turbulent relationship. He thinks in years, in decades. Mortality becomes real, so he acts accordingly. But there are shadows too. Some men, after years alone, grow emotionally rigid. They forget how to be vulnerable. They avoid intimacy out of habit, not wisdom. They may become too self-contained, like a fortress no one can enter. That is not Stoicism. That is fear masquerading as strength. The Stoic man remains open to love, but not desperate for it. He chooses solitude not because he has given up on others, but because he is not willing to lose himself to be with them. If the Stoic path of solitude is a quiet mountain trail, then modern dating culture is a flashing casino. Fast swipes, instant validation, dopamine on demand. Relationships today are often driven by performance, curating the perfect version of ourselves, selling an image, craving attention. And when that attention fades, we panic. We reach for the next person, the next fix. This is not love. It's addiction with a romantic soundtrack. The Stoic spirit stands in quiet rebellion against this. He does not seek someone to fill the silence because he has made peace with it. He does not beg for attention because he gives it to himself. He does not trade authenticity for approval. He's not against love. He's against losing himself to chase it. Eventually, something strange happens. The man who has walked the solitary path long enough does not fear relationships anymore, but he no longer craves them either. He can love deeply and freely, but without need. If he chooses to be with someone, it is not to be rescued from loneliness. It is to share wholeness. The relationship becomes a choice, not a necessity, a sacred addition, not an emotional crutch. If he never chooses a partner, he is not lesser for it. His life is not incomplete. His joy is not postponed. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This is the heart of the Stoic spirit, and it only emerges in men who have stopped trying to earn love and started trying to embody it. Conclusion: the quiet power of the Stoic spirit. So why is it that the longer some men are single, the stronger they become? It's because in that space between longing and fulfillment, they meet themselves. They confront their chaos. They build routines. They refine their values. They stop chasing and start creating. They become grounded in a way that no relationship, however beautiful, could have given them. And when, or if, they choose to love again, it is not to complete themselves, it is to share what is already full. We end with a reframing. Maybe the man who walks alone is not lost, but found. Maybe solitude is not a delay of life, but the very soil where life takes root. Maybe strength is not in how many people want you, but in how deeply you can stand without needing them. The man who is not afraid to be alone is the man who is ready to meet the world. What if your time alone is not a pause, but the path?